Welcome to the Ben and Walker Movie Show. I'm your co-host, Ben Davis, joined by my other co-host, Walker Holt, and we're excited to have a conversation with you about one of our favorite things in the world, beer-flavored nipples. If this is your first time being here with us, welcome. We're so glad to have you. And while you're here, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the latest content that we have for you guys. And while you're here, be sure to leave a like, share us around, and of course, comment down below with your thoughts on today's show. Let us know how we're doing. Walker, what's up, man?
Not too much. Been a good weekend. Relaxing a little. Finally done with all the moving and washing machine replacing. Hopefully, it's been a big sports weekend. Golf's having the Players
Mm-hmm.
Championship, which is finishing up today. That's been a fun watch. And then ACC tournament was this weekend.
Yep.
And
Shocking NC State win.
yeah. I'm a Tar Heels fan, but
Sorry.
I'm happy for them. I mean, they won 5 in a row. It's pretty unbelievable. I'm glad they should get a belt to the tournament now, and
Yep.
good for them. I mean, they played well. It happened to be the week gambling became legal in North Carolina as well. So
Did did you lose any money on that?
yeah, I mean, I lost double time. So, but happy for State. Happy for any Wolfpack fans that are listening. Congrats. We'll see you in the tournament on the dance floor. How about you? How's your weekend? How's your eye?
It's much better compared to last week. It's still a little swollen. If you guys can tell, it's still a little swollen, but I can actually see now. Still a little blurry, but my eye's not super red and closed anymore or leaking. So it's nice. It took it's taken it's sweet time to get completely healed, but gotta check up tomorrow at the doctor. But I should be fine.
Gives
I
me
should be fine.
shivers to think about.
Yeah, let me tell you, that was a special kind of pain right there. Fingernail to the eye and sliding right across, and yeah, it was bad. It was bad. But we're back in business. The baby blues are still kicking.
Yeah.
But this is our monthly deep dive episode where we pick a movie to discuss. Usually a movie that is celebrating an anniversary of some kind, one that has a sequel, a prequel, a spinoff coming out, one that we want to discuss so celebrate an actor or director, or one where we are celebrating a holiday. And we just really go all in on that movie and discuss how we felt about it when we first saw it compared to now, the Rotten Tomatoes score, get into some fun facts, and we wrap up the show by giving out our awards. So this is something that we usually do at the end of the month, and it's always fun to do. As you guys can tell by the title of this episode today, we are discussing a movie that if you haven't watched our weekly drafts, which you totally should be doing, by the way, and you can do so by subscribing to our pages. You would have noticed we've drafted this movie quite a few times in several different categories, and that film is none other than 10 Things I Hate About You, in honor of its 25th anniversary. 10 Things I Hate About You is directed by Jill Junger and stars Julia Stiles, the late great Heath Ledger, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Larissa Olnick, Larry Miller, Andrew Keegan, hashtag Camp Nowhere, um, David Krumholtz, Gabrielle Union, Susan May Pratt, Daryl Mitchell, and Allison Janney. If you aren't familiar with 10 Things, the plot synopsis reads like such according to Google. Kat Startford is beautiful, smart, and quite abrasive to most her fellow teens, meaning that she doesn't attract many boys. Unfortunately for her younger sister, Bianca, house rules say that she can't date until Kate or Kat has a boyfriend. So strings are pulled to set the dour damsel up for a romance. Soon, Kat crosses paths with handsome new arrival Patrick Vernoa. Verona? I think that's how you say it.
Verona.
Yeah. Will Kat let her guard down enough to fall for the effortlessly charming Patrick? Who's to say? Listen, this is the late 90s, early 2000s was really the heyday for the teen romantic comedy with countless movies that we could like talk about right now. Um, but one genre of teen romantic comedy was the Shakespeare adaptation with like the modern day twist. You had movies like Romeo and Juliet come out in 1996. This film came out in 99. You had the underrated Get Over It, which is Midsummer Night's Dream in 2001. Oh, also in 2001. And then She's the Man in 2006. And honestly, looking back at all these titles, to me at least, it's pretty clear that the genre peaked with its second entry with 10 Things I Hate About You. And that's no shade thrown at Get Over It. It's a movie I used to love watching, but I haven't seen it in years. I just remember that "Put your hand down, young Steve" scene. Freaking hilarious, Martin Short. Or towards She's the Man. I know that movie has its fans, but I haven't seen it. But Walker, when was the first time you saw 10 Things I Hate About You, and how does it compare to how you feel about it now? And why do you think this one has stayed relevant over the years while the other adaptations just appeared to have no staying power?
I mean, I saw it. I didn't see it in theaters, but I saw it pretty soon after it came out. I mean, I saw it when it was brand new, first on VHS or
Yeah.
DVD or whatever it was at the time. To be honest with you, my memory of it, and I mean, this is the first time I've seen it in a long time, but watching it, it took me back a lot of scenes. I mean, it kind of felt like this was one of the biggest movies out at the time. Like it just felt like such a big deal. Like I can remember from watching the movie so much from the trailer, and I haven't rewatched the trailer recently or anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
watching the movie this weekend, there were so many little scenes, like the archery scene and stuff, that I just remember from the trailer being like, God. And I remember it seeming so funny in the trailer, and it just felt like that was the must see movie of whatever season it was in. So I saw it, pretty soon after it came out. My mom liked it a lot. Felt like everybody liked it. I don't know if I've met anybody who
Yeah.
doesn't like it. I liked it a lot, and I still like it. Yeah, I mean, I imagine I feel about the same. I think it holds up quite well. I think it's a modern day classic, and I think for the staying power, I think the humor is pretty smart in it. I think it's pretty clever. And I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, the ensemble cast. It's one of these weird phenomena. Like you've got freaks and geeks. You've got maybe the Arrested Development show that only went a little while that has these stellar casts before they are what they are, and and maybe not. Maybe they were all in their heyday, but I mean, Heath Ledger, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was pretty early in their world, and they became superstars. I know Larissa was already something, and Julia Stiles was relevant, but it's still it just. I mean, the cast I think is the main reason. I think it's cleverly written, it's funny, it's smart humor, but I think the cast is the where the real punches are thrown.
Yeah, it's the first time I saw this is it's one of those weird movies where like 80% of the movies that I've seen I can remember in very detailed fashion the first time I've seen them.
Mhm.
But this is one that I don't really have a strong memory of watching it for the first time. I know that this was a second Heath Ledger movie I'd seen because I think I saw The Patriot before I saw this.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure my two sisters rented this from Blockbuster quite a bit. And that's how I ended up watching it. And it's just been one of those movies I've gone back to watch over and over again because it's funny, it's clever, and I just enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a pretty good adaptation, a good modern day twist on it. But I think the movie really, I think the reason that it holds up and the reason that it works so well is it's just really smart. It's in on the joke and it doesn't take itself too seriously, so we can have fun with it. But it also does a really good job of taking itself seriously when it needs to kind of get you invested in it and allow ourselves to care about the characters and what they're going through.
Hmm.
I just think it's sharp, it's witty, it's clever, it's funny. And this was Heath Ledger's first like American movie, I'm pretty sure.
Wow, that's
And
you can
what a
see his
debut.
charm is already there too. I mean,
Yeah.
he's in it for the obviously not long enough, but he this was the beginning of a big time career. I know he's been stuff before that, but stuff that was American and that I had seen.
Yeah. And again, you were in this era where the teen comedy and in particular teen romantic comedy was also big and huge.
Yeah,
And I think this one has aged the best out of all of them. I would say.
probably. I
Uh,
would think so too. I mean, even if some jokes are a little 2099, it overall I think it holds up and it's still
yeah,
funny and relevant and kind of still feels like it's got the finger on the pulse a little bit.
absolutely, absolutely. And it looks like most people agreed with us. If you look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, it currently sits at 71%, with the consensus being Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger add strong performances to an unexpectedly clever script, elevating 10 things slightly above typical teen fare. I will also note this only has like 94 reviews. I would imagine if it had more, it probably would be higher. I think.
I graded it higher. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
this
would grade.
weekend looking at, I mean, I mean, it just is what it is, And like you said a
Yeah,
minute ago, it doesn't take itself too seriously when it's not supposed to, and it does buckle down when appropriate. And as a viewer, I do the same thing. And I mean, I ended up on an 85 for it. So
yeah.
I
That's
mean,
that's honestly about where I would put it too.
mhm. I mean, I think it's definitely a movie people should see. I think it's easily recommended. I think most people would enjoy this movie, and I definitely think when it came out, most people enjoyed it. I thought. I mean, at least
Yeah,
71% of
absolutely.
people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think this movie's fun. I think it's enjoyable. Yeah, I would probably land in that 85% range as well.
Yeah.
Again, it's still talked about to this day. Still pretty popular. Um, but let's move into some fun facts here. The entire film was shot using real locations. No sets were used, and I think that comes through. The movie feels very authentic.
I completely agree. I thought the entire movie. It's always interesting to me. Now, and I don't necessarily. This is a little extreme and exaggerating a little bit. When you watch something like Breaking Bad, like it feels like Albuquerque is like a character of its own. When you watch something
Yeah,
like Yellowstone, where you're looking around like Montana, like things that like the scene is not your everyday LA and not your everyday New York, and sometimes even LA and New York are relevant and things, but
yeah,
just so much stuff is based in those places. A lot of things based in around the Cape in Massachusetts are very. It comes through a lot. I thought Seattle came through in this, and I didn't even quite.
yeah.
I was wondering while I was watching it whether or not it was Seattle, and I could tell it was Washington. And eventually I figured it out halfway through the movie, but unless I don't know if they mentioned it or not, but it just I could tell it felt authentic. It didn't feel like sets, um and it felt like unique in its own.
Well, yeah, and they used like a real high school to shoot
Yeah,
it.
cool, interesting high school too.
Very cool looking high school. It used to be like a hotel, and then it burned down, and then they refashioned it to be like a high school.
Right.
Well, not burned down, but it had like burn damage or something like that. Found that out in some of my research. But very, very cool looking high school. Very, like, again, authentic, looks real, looks tangible. And I think that allows us to get a little bit more invested in the world that they created. Um, as I said earlier, this was Heath Ledger's first American movie. David Krumholtz, who plays Michael in the film, wrote a piece for Vulture explaining why he thought the movie worked so well. He stated the entire cast became fast friends. Joseph Gordon-Levitt turned me on to Fish, he's quoted as saying, and I turned him on to Wu-Tang Clan. The actor wrote, Gabrielle Union had us in stitches. Julia Stiles brought her own band, Soho bred artistic intellectualism. And Lisa Olnick laughter filled the room, and we marveled at the toneness of Andrew Keegan's muscle. A great sport. Filming began without Heath Ledger, and the cast were worried how his presence would change the dynamic. Quoted as saying, "This was a concern that was remedied a few days later when he arrived, and we found yet another comrade in sensibility. The group with Heath Ledger only got stronger. Before I knew it, the cast was experiencing what I found to be all too rare, a unified chemistry throughout the ensemble without a single bad apple in the bunch. We all agreed that we were having the best summer of our lives." And once again, talking about that, you know, you can tell and it comes through the screen, talking about the real locations, real sets. You can also tell in the performances as well. Everything feels very real and authentic and heartfelt. Whenever these characters are interacting, it doesn't just feel like actors saying the words. It feels like, these characters really caring about each other and creating a dynamic. And that's clearly that happened behind the scenes and it's translated to the screen very, very well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's like we mentioned it several times. I think this is the reason the film was so good, and the reason it's still so good. 25 years later. God.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just I mean, and it's rare. I mean, it's rare to have such an ensemble cast, and then for them to like have the chemistry like this is sometimes too many. And I don't know the star power. I can't work my brain that way right now. But of them in '99, each of them. But it sometimes that can get kind of messy when you have too many.
Egos can get in the way, but it's clear that that didn't happen here. I think it was catching them all at like a pretty good time. They weren't hitting their like big stardoms yet, but they were about to. Joseph Gordon-Levitt wouldn't hit his for a couple more years because he took some time off and then he came back.
Yeah, and you got
Uh,
David Krumholtz, notably Bernard, the elf from the
yeah.
Santa Claus. That's my favorite role of his.
Also, coming fresh off a Best Picture win for Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, yep, yep.
he's great in that. Heath Ledger beat out Josh Hartnett and Ashton Kutcher for the role of Patrick.
Speaking of Oppenheimer,
I think Josh Hartnett could have done pretty good. I don't think Ashton Kutcher would have done as well. He's a little too goofy.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad
think.
Heath Ledger got it. Heath Ledger, I think, is
Yeah,
the
I am
winner
too.
here. But I agree. I could see Josh Hartnett being good in the role. Ashton Kutcher doesn't really fit, but I know he was popular around that time.
Yeah, for sure. I think Josh Hartnett could have pulled it off, but Heath Ledger was the right pick, and I'm happy he got it. Um, Julia Stiles originally auditioned for the role of Bianca, and according to screenwriters, really wanted to play Kat. Uh, Olnick got the role of Bianca, while Stiles got the role of Kat, Bianca's older sister. Despite Kat being 2 years older than Bianca, Stiles is only 3 months older than Olnick in real life. Yeah, I mean, I could not see Julia Stiles playing Bianca.
Yeah, I like the way the cookie crumbled. I prefer the way it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, absolutely. Because Julia Stiles has like a dryness to her, but has this on top of having the dryness that's able to pull off the kind of performance that she has to pull off here, also has this sweetness that's hidden underneath and this funniness and this sharpness and this wit that makes the character of Kat, I think, lovable and charming.
Yeah, relatable.
Very. I think she pulls it off really nicely. Um, the character of Patrick is based on the taming of the shrews Petruchio?
I think Petruccio.
Petruchio, thank you. Heath Ledger drew on Richard Burton's portrayal in The Taming of the Shrew, as well as given a Jack Nicholson edge to him with his cheekiness and his smile. Coincidentally, both actors played Joker in Batman movies, um, as did Jared Leto, mentioned in the English version of the picture Cat had of him. So, little interesting
Have you
conundrum there.
ever
Um,
seen Taming of the Shrew, the movie?
I've never seen it. No,
What?
who Lawrence Fishburne's in that, isn't he?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I watched it in 10th grade, Miss London's class.
Nice.
Let me look. I remember them like being like Richard Burton. Yeah, just Richard Burton's the only name I recognize, and Elizabeth Taylor.
No, Lawrence Fishburne wouldn't be in that then. I'm thinking of O, but it's not titled O. It's what the actual
Oh, yeah, gotcha,
thing
gotcha.
is. Yeah, yeah. Not the modern remake of it. Yeah, no, you can see a little bit of Jack Nicholson in there. There's
Yeah.
certain little smiles that he makes and stuff and facial expressions, like when the disappointment on his face when she's like, "She kissed me." He's like, "Where?" He goes, "In the car," and it's just this like sadness, this disappointing look on his face when he said, "In the car."
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the character needs it too. I mean, Heath Ledger's one of the only people that could probably pull it off because there's a lot of things that happen with the character that we forgive pretty easily, and mostly we forgive it due to his charm
Hmm.
because we just enjoy him so much, and so does Katarina, and he's able to pull that off to where we're still, he starts off as like a tough person to like, and he does a lot of tough things to like, and somehow we like him.
Well, he's also like everything he does feels authentic. Like, yeah, he's getting paid throughout it, but never once are you doubting that intent, like his intentions, while they start out like bad and manipulative, actually, as you go on, especially once they get to that party, they're not. It just he
Mm.
feels like he actually cares and actually is attracted to this girl.
Yeah.
The original script was much darker than the one in the final film. In the original film, Madalena referred openly and frequently to several suicide attempts, which were so that she could join William Shakespeare. Glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, totally. That's a little weird.
Very.
I think the movie has a little bit of an edge to it. That like maybe there's a world they could have made that work, but just from with all this information we have, which is very little, that just feels forced and uncomfortable and just not funny, And like
It
I
doesn't.
don't like
It doesn't fit.
yeah, and it's just, I mean, if you make I mean, I'm okay with certain things if you make them funny, but like sometimes it can just feel like out of place and forced and not funny, and that so far
Yeah,
with the information we have, that feels that way.
absolutely.
Her
Uh,
character in general is a little, yeah, well,
yeah. This was the screenwriters Karen McCullough and Christian Smith's first screenplay. They would go on to write Legally Blonde and The House Bunny. And I remember liking The House Bunny, but I've only seen it once. But Legally Blonde is freaking awesome. I don't care what
yeah,
anyone says.
yeah. Legally Blonde's fantastic. I think Jess might love the House Bunny. I'm not sure. I can't. I get it mixed up with something else. Is that Anna Faris
Yeah,
or is
Anna
that
Faris is in that. Yeah, it's Anna Faris.
Okay. Um, I think Jess might like that movie a lot. I think she thinks it's funny, and I don't know if I've seen it all the way through or not. But Legally Blonde, yes, I do like a lot.
Yeah, Legally Blonde's great. The original song scripted for Patrick to sing Cat to gain her forgiveness was I Think I Love You by the Partridge Family. They couldn't use it since it was already used in Scream 2. And yeah, that would feel, especially what, 2 years after, 3 years after, that would feel like a little much.
Yeah, it would definitely because okay, so it would feel even more confusing too because I not another teen movie. There's a lot of wrenches in this in a lot of movies. You've seen not another teen movie, the
Yeah,
parody.
yeah.
That there's so many things, just like Scream and Scary Movie, where like I'm like, wait, which one was that? Like, was that this movie? Like, does she sing? Does he sing "Janie Got a Gun" or "Janie Has a Gun" or whatever? Or does he sing
She's
something?
got a gun. Yeah, and another teen movie. Yeah,
And sometimes I like get them mixed up. If they had used the same song as in Scream 2, and then because they would have made fun of that song even harder then, and then it'd be like, wait, which movie was that in? Was that not another teen movie or Scream or Scary Movie or this movie? Like it would have gotten even more confusing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that they used a different one,
I
and they
feel
used.
like I Scream a lot of the times. I at the beginning of Scream with the Drew
Uh-huh.
Barrymore scene, like I'm always
Mhm.
like, wait, doesn't she try to grab a banana or something to kill him? And it's like, no, that's the other movie.
Yeah,
And then I
that's
was saying
scary
the way
movie.
Drew Barrymore dies is from her parents hitting her with the car on the drive in.
I don't do it that bad, but
Yeah, I get them all because I mean Scream especially because it's kind of funny anyway. You know, it's
yeah,
kind of
it's a
in on the
parody,
joke and stuff.
but also
Yeah,
still effective.
yeah,
The marching band in the sequence where Heath Ledger sings to Julia Stiles was not in the Stadium High School where the film was shot. Stadium was approached by the filmmakers of the movie to do the scene, but did not have a marching band. The makers of the movie contacted Lincoln High School and nearby Tacoma School, who furnished the marching band depicted in the scene. Several members of the Stadium Band assisted, but had to be taught how to march. Yeah, that was a different high school was used for the football stadium
yeah.
aside from sequences.
So it's a cool scene. They did a great job.
It is a really cool scene and great. Yeah, I we'll discuss it more later for sure. And speaking of discussing it later, let's go ahead and talk about awards, man.
Hmm.
Best scenes and moments. Michael gives Cameron the breakdown.
Yeah, that really gets us off on the right foot here. I also like there's a lot of little like Joseph Gordon-Levitt brings a lot of Shakespeare to that scene too, doesn't he? Like the oh I can't remember the exact words he says. I'm thinking Dead Poet Society stuff like oh Captain My Cat. No, that's not what he says. But my heart with the I don't know. He'd almost kind of
Yeah,
I didn't realize. I knew it was based on Taming of the Shrew. I knew it was a Shakespeare adaptation, but like everything's a Shakespeare adaptation, so it was hard to like. It was like, yeah, I'm sure it is, but I think that was like more of like a like as if as West Side Story is to Romeo and Juliet, so it's a little more direct of a adaptation.
no,
And then I started the movie the other day, and it's the first time I've seen it in 15 years. I he started talking like that. And I was like, wait, is this almost like Romeo plus Juliet? You know, the Leo one. It's like,
yeah,
are they going to talk like Shakespeare? They don't do that. And it was just a little bit, but I did like the few nods that they threw into it. But yes, this scene, sorry, is great. I think David Krumholtz is one of my favorite performances in the movie, and I think
he's so
he,
freaking funny.
yeah,
I think one of the main reasons to me that this scene works, or is the movie works, is because of this scene. It lets the audience know that it's in on the joke and it doesn't take itself seriously. So we should, let us know as an audience that we should have fun with it. It kind of sets the tone and sets the standard for the film going forward.
I yeah, I agree. I agree. It'll oh, the beginning. Yeah, normally they send like an AV geek down here. He's like, yeah, not this time. And he like like sends
Yeah,
he's great.
yeah, it's great. The social dynamics going into the cliques and everything, and I always love that because you know we went to the same high school, the different times, but I never really experienced cliques like as extensive as they are portrayed in like movies and stuff like that, or as ridiculous and as they are in movies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it always makes you draw back to your own high school experience, and there certainly
Yeah,
are connections. I mean, movie high schools are always, especially back then, a little larger than life, you know, and it's
yeah,
hard to like, but there's certainly some connections there
yeah,
that are
for sure.
authentic.
And this it goes directly into after this whole setup. It goes directly into Mr. Morgan's classroom. This
It's
scene is like nonstop, like zinger after zinger after zinger. It's so funny. Heath Ledger coming in. What I miss? The oppressive patriarchal values that dictate our education. Good. And then he just leaves the room. Yeah,
this
great.
is one of my favorite scenes. I mean, I mean, he Mr. Morgan, Daryl Mitchell is fantastic in this movie. There's
Oh,
so many little bit part. I mean,
he's
it's
throwing
just
it 100 miles an hour in this.
yeah, it's just awesome.
So many bits in this. Someday you're going to get bitch slapped, and I'm not going to do anything to stop it.
Yeah.
And then telling Kat, I want to thank you for your point of view. I know how difficult it must be to overcome all those years of upper middle class suburban oppression. It must be tough.
Yeah, very funny, very funny.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a 1-2 punch that really is like, all right, we're rolling here. Feels. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's great.
The opening of this, the entire opening is really it sets the tone in a good way, great way, man.
Mm-hmm.
Meeting Walter, their dad. Speaking of a
I think.
character that could come across as like so annoying as like overprotective father, he doesn't. He is so fucking funny.
Yeah,
Like,
he's one of the best. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, so far through these scenes, I have talked about David Krumholtz as what's his name in the movie? Michael,
Michael, yeah.
Mr. Morgan, Daryl Mitchell, and then Walter. All three of these characters are
Not even mentioning Allison Janney in
I,
this.
I know. And all of these characters are not even like personally. Maybe David Krumholtz a little bit, but personally, when I haven't seen this movie in 15 years, I think of Heath Ledger. I think of Julia Stiles. I think of Larissa from or Alex Mack, and I think of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles, and Larissa. I think of them, and then maybe Joey Keegan. But
Yeah.
I forget about these bit characters, and they're the best parts of the movie. I think. I mean, they're hilarious.
They add so much to it. And I
Yeah.
miss bit parts in movies like this, where you cast these like actors that might not necessarily be like household names, but are popular actors and
Recognizable.
recognizable, and they just give it 100%, and it adds so much more to the movie itself. I miss little things like that in movies. I wish they did more of it.
Yeah, I know. I know.
But this scene in particular is so funny. He sets the stage for what kind of parent he is. It's a little bit of bad parenting what he does here when he pits the sisters against each other, but nonetheless, it's still a super funny character. I love the line of "I'm a crack whore who should have made my skeezy boyfriend wear a condom," and then he have this look. He goes, "Close, but no."
Yeah, I think he's just unapologetic about it and funny, so it just works. I mean, I think
Yeah,
he's just owning every bit of his flaws and all.
yeah. Cameron and Michael confront Patrick about their plan, let them know that they're the ones who put it in motion. And the reason I have this here is strictly because of what I said at the top of the show. That line of, "What is it with this chick? Does she have beer flavored nipples?"
I laughed out loud hearing it.
So
I know I've heard you say it a couple times when we drafted it, and I've
Mhm.
forgotten the line like its relevance in the movie. And when I heard it, it was just hilarious.
It hits you because he says it
He
so
delivers it
fast.
perfectly.
Yeah, it's perfect timing. Walking in the pregnancy suit.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. It's a
So
memorable scene too. Is that in the trailer? That was a
I don't
very
remember.
memorable scene. I know that's an impossible question, but it there were so many scenes that for some reason I just remember this trailer coming out like it was just such an anticipated funny movie, and and just I don't know why it was so. Maybe it was just an impressionable age and time or something.
It hits her at the right time. Yeah. I mean, it hit us at the right time too, around our ages, and people who are a little bit older than us. I think that's why it's aged so well, because it's nostalgic, and it hit all these people in their careers at the right time. But the pregnancy suit bit is so messed up, but it's so funny. I would never do this to Zoe. I was joking with Carly that I would do this to Zoe, but I was like, nah, I would never do that. But it would be funny. Cat dancing on the table to hypnotize by Biggie slash Cat and Patrick on the swing. First off, dance is great. Great song. It's Cat letting loose. But also, it shows that Patrick is a good dude because he takes care of her, he catches her, and then he takes her over out of the party, takes her to the swing, get her some air, take her away from the party, and, you know, like doesn't want her to embarrass herself. And she pukes, and they have that like sweet moment where like he's concerned about her when she like passes out. He wakes her up. She says, "Hey, there's a little bit of green in your eyes," and he gives her that the devilish smile.
Yeah,
He's taking care of her as she's puking. It's really sweet.
great. Yeah, great scene. Good for the plot and the character development. Also worth mentioning here, hasn't been mentioned yet, and absolutely needs to be mentioned. Killer soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
The whole movie, killer soundtrack.
it's very late '90s, early 2000s.
Just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of different genres, and a lot of probably introductions to songs that I still know the words to now that I probably hadn't heard when the movie came out. Great soundtrack. Sorry, just
No. It should be mentioned. Should be mentioned. It's a great soundtrack. You also have that bit here where Cameron's really upset because
yeah. She's with Aunt
she
Joey.
yeah, she's with Joey, and he's really upset. He's feeling down on himself, and Patrick gives him that pep talk of, "Hey, don't ever let anyone feel like you're less than what you deserve. Do you like this girl? Then go for it. Don't just give up on it. You know."
Yeah, it's a big moment for Patrick,
Yeah.
development wise.
Patrick sings in front of the school to Swoon Cat. We mentioned this
I mean, this
briefly earlier.
this is the scene you remember.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think. I mean, this is the big scene.
yeah.
Very
And
cool.
he
Great
actually
song.
sung it.
Yeah, great job.
Actually sung it. It's awesome, great song. Funny, it's romantic, it's iconic. And it's so funny too, because it's like, to me it's at the end, he did the right thing in this sequence that I'm about to talk about here. But when he takes her back home from the party, she tries to kiss him. And he says, maybe some other time. And she gets upset and embarrassed because he says no. And she's pissed off. And so, even though he did the right thing, to make it up to her, he puts himself out on a limb and sings and serenades her in front of the entire school. And I just think that that's, again, sweet and funny and adds so much to his character, but also it's a great scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's could easily win the best for sure. I mean, it's classic.
Yeah. Paintball fun. First off, I would like to do something like this. I feel like it would be a lot of fun.
Was it paintball water balloons? Paint balloons?
Yes, I think that's what it had to be, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it was a cool like course or whatever you call it. I've never been paintballing before, but it was a cool like area, however
yeah,
they were using it.
yeah, and the first kiss is in there too.
Yeah,
And I thought
it's
that was
cute, sweet.
a really good first kiss. Walter and Kat's conversation about becoming a spectator. As a dad, this hit home. Where he's
Mhm.
like, she's still keeping me by on the sidelines, talking about the older sister, the other sister. Why am I forgetting the other sister's name? It's Kat and
Bianca.
Bianca. Talking about Bianca still keeps me on the sideline, but you have had me on the bench for years. And, as you become older, you kind of become a spectator. And even if you're still here, I can still spectate. But if you move far away, I can't even do that.
Yeah, it was a well written and well delivered scene. It makes you feel something for the guy that's been a bit of a curmudgeon all movie, but I mean a
Yeah. A
charming, funny
lovable
curmudgeon.
curmudgeon.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. But like he's supposed to be just a grump, but he's just funny because it's Larry Miller. He's just killing it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's a humanizing moment that brings things full circle. This whole movie's full of those. There are a
Yeah.
lot of little humanizing moments that bring things around, even for But I guess that's just kind of. I mean, it again, it doesn't try to get too deep with stuff, but like Larissa or Bianca, kind of similarly, she kind of screws over Cameron, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and then just kisses him, and it's like, oh, well, we're back. It's
Yeah.
like, kiss me.
Back in the game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Well, she realizes like very quickly too, and they don't string it out like that Joey is a douchebag
yeah,
at the
yeah, that's
party
good.
very quickly, and you see her character's like, no, this guy, even though he looks good, he's not a good dude. And this Cameron guy might be a pretty nice guy. He seems to care a lot about me. So I'm interested in
Yeah,
him. But no, I think a lot of the humanizing moments, it goes toward the great things about this film and the tone of it, right? Where it knows when to be serious and it knows when to have fun and when to be funny.
yeah. I think that's the some of the biggest charm about it. I think it. I mean, it's a late '90s rom. I mean, it is what it is. It's just like I think it doesn't try to be this like eye-opening, enlightening thing. You know what I mean?
No.
It's a funny, cute story, and the humor is written in a very clever way, and it's performed by and delivered by brilliant, actors, and
Hmm.
so it just works so well. I mean, it doesn't need to be more than that.
No, no. And speaking of brilliantly delivered, Cat's poem.
Yeah, God, that's another scene that you remember. I remember that. I think the I about said Janie has a gun. The the singing scene where Patrick sings, and then the Ten Things poem are the two scenes I remember the most from the movie before watching it recently.
Yeah,
It delivered.
delivered, and it's also done in one take.
That's
This
unbelievable.
was the only take that they did, and what a great
So,
take it was, because it's like they didn't know she was going to cry, and she cried on the spot and completely nailed it.
yeah, it's a very good performance.
And the makeup, I had to add it in. Usually I only have it to 10 nominees, but I had to put in the makeup here. It's funny, it's sweet, it's touching and effective when he spends all the money that he made from taking her out on dates on that guitar that she was looking at. She said, "Don't think
Yeah,
this could work every time." He's like, "Yeah, I know. But, in the future, we have drums, bass, and maybe someday even a tambourine."
yeah, that's, it's
It's
very. I
great.
mean, he. I mean, I keep repeating myself, but Heath Ledger's delivery and performance is perfect in pretty much most of the movie, and the writing and jokes are great too. It's clever, it's cute, it's fun. I mean, I smiled probably the whole movie.
Yeah, yeah. I did too. When I was watching it this morning, that's what I was doing, is smiling pretty much ear to ear the entire time. I think for me, best scene moment, it has to be the Patrick singing in front of the school.
Yeah, it's certainly that's definitely up there and easily could be the answer. I'm for the sake of picking something different though. I think I oh man, I think I'm gonna go man. I'm picking something in the beginning. I mean, the one, two, or three is when Michael gives the tour, Mr.
Mhm.
Morgan's classroom, and then meeting Walter. And I think what works so well is this one, two, three punch of being like, dude, this movie's nonstop.
Yeah, it's clever, witty.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the tour. I'm gonna go with Krumholtz giving Joseph Gordon-Levitt the tour just to introduce us, kick us off on the right foot. Really set the first impression right.
All right, fair enough. I like it. Moving on to worst scenes and moments. Cat dating interview process. It's just a little much. All these guys are acting like she's this repulsive person, and or that she's like gross or something like that. And it's like she's just like doesn't put up with crap. Like, what's the big deal here?
Yeah, it's a little silly. It's a little
Uh,
much. I mean, I get what they're trying to do there, but
yeah,
it's a little. It's just they beat the joke a little hard there.
yeah, agreed. Cameron getting pissed in the car. Like
He,
this comes off as whiny, man. It does, especially
it's
after that.
not a good look.
No, especially after
It's
that
not an
pet talk.
attractive look.
No,
Yeah,
especially after
it's
that
not
pet talk
attractive.
he got from Patrick. Like it's just play it cool after that conversation.
Yeah, I can't really speak for what women are attracted to necessarily, but I would guess that's not it.
No, I would imagine that's not it.
It was a tough look for him.
Yeah. A cat breaks Patrick out of detention. I think this scene has aged like milk. And
Yeah,
also,
it's not.
how long is detention? About an hour and a half. I've been in detention before. It's about an hour and a half. And then
Yeah,
you're
that
out.
sounds right.
There's
Yeah,
no need to flash the guy that's in charge of that.
yeah. It's.
It's a little much.
Yeah, I agree. This wasn't. These
And
are good choices.
no teacher would just stand there either. I feel like it fight or fight response, I would be running.
Yeah, it doesn't land for me either. These all three of these were good choices. I have one more I'd like to
No.
add. Pretty much not everything, but the Gabrielle Union stuff. The when she goes with Joey, I don't mind Gabrielle Union being this dumb friend. That was kind of funny. I don't even mind her turning on her and going with Joey when the moment was there. I think that works. I don't like that she's a bitch afterwards. Like why is she so mean? Like in like when they're in the bathroom it's like just so you know and it's like why
Well,
do
I
you
do
hate
have a
her so much?
question. I do have a question about that. Joey shows up to the house to pick up Bianca. How did he have enough time to like revert back to
Yeah, I mean I mean unless that's part of the joke that she was such a second she's so oblivious of like how second choice she was. I just don't like that her attitude like it's for I don't mind her whole character, and then when we get to the party and Bianca can't go home with Joey or doesn't want to because she's had enough of him, and then Gabrielle Union goes home with him. I don't mind that either. I think that plays and that tracks and stuff. And then for her to be his date as like sloppy seconds or whatever just as like a oh we clearly saw him go pick up Bianca she can't go and then he's just got his finger on whatever.
Gabrielle Union's kind of a nothing character until this point. She does have the line of you can be overwhelmed and underwhelmed, but can you just be whelmed?
Yeah.
Which I enjoy, but
Yeah, there was like
and
two
just
of those scenes. I can't remember the other one, but there was. I thought there was two similar, like them walking and just her being dumb scenes. But I just didn't like the like when she showed up to the party. Like all of a sudden they're enemies. Like all of a sudden, and not that Larissa cares. I just mean like now all of a sudden she's like how do you like me? I don't know. It just I didn't think it was written that well. I thought it was
it's
just
not.
kind of lazy.
Yeah, it's not.
But that was the one that was stood out to me the most watching the movie of like I don't like that.
Yeah. I I think for me though, it's still cat breaking Patrick out of detention. I think that scene is just it's aged really bad. But I
Yeah.
will say there is a funny bit with the teacher that's in there when he takes the pot away from the guy
And Cheetah.
and then he walks right by the other guy. I'm also confiscating these, taking the cheese puffs away. And I never understood that when I watched it as a kid, but now as an adult, I get it, and it's really funny. I had a good
This one.
chuckle. I had a
Yeah.
good chuckle. But yeah, I think cat breaking Patrick out of detention is just really it's aged bad.
Yeah, that's probably the right answer. I'm gonna go with what I was talking about just for the just because it
Always got to
stood
be
out to me so
different.
much.
Always got to be different. You could be the same.
No. Oh, I'm not different that much.
Best performance. Who you got?
Probably Heath Ledger. I think.
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean, it's. I mean, the weight of being, a lead is it plays into it because there's obviously big time performance. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of right answers here. I'm gonna go Heath Ledger. I think it's I've mentioned it already. The Jack Nicholson. I'm glad that was written down. It's a good comp there, but I like his like charm and mischievous spin he puts on the character, which I think works really well. I think it's a tough character to pull off, and he makes it look pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, that's a good choice. I think I'm gonna go with Larry Miller because he's so funny. Every scene he's in, he's perfect and touching when he needed to be too.
I agree. I mean, he's awesome.
Yeah. Moving on to Does This Make Sense Award. How does Miss Perky still have a job?
I don't know. I
She's like the
mean,
worst principal ever, and she's also writing the smut novel,
yeah,
asking students, what's a good word for like enlarged or like
yeah,
or
engorged.
engorged? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And she just doesn't care. She's always like, you're in here for public indecency, or exposing yourself to a faculty
To
member.
the lunch
And
lady.
she, yeah,
Didn't
and
think
then
the joke
he's,
was just a bratwurst.
yeah, and then she's like, keep it in your pants. Like just brushes it off. Like, all right, now get.
Yeah,
I got work to do.
not a big deal at all to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
This is probably my biggest pet peeve. Is Kat really this heinous bitch? I don't think so.
Like, you mean is it the way everyone talks about her? Is that
Yeah.
true? No, I mean I think they probably would have called her that in 25 years ago, though. I mean, I think she was just ahead of her time. I think she's really mature for her age. I think she was had a tough experience and was dealing with it and stuff. But I think high school 25 years ago, people are dumb and
No,
probably would have said
yeah.
that. But
But
no, I
I
don't think so.
never, even watching this as a kid, though, I never thought so.
Yeah, yeah,
I never, I never bought that she was this heinous, mean woman. I always thought she was really funny and clever. And it just
yeah.
goes to show
I don't
the
know.
writing for her was great too. But you're
Yeah,
right. Back in the day, probably.
yeah. You get a front row seat to her too. You get a kind of a behind the scenes and get to watch the
Yeah.
world through her eyes a little bit too. That helps, but so she's a lot more relatable. But yeah, I mean, I don't think so. No,
No, I don't either. Why is Cameron already so infatuated with Bianca? Like he sees her and he's like automatically defending her.
I don't know. I mean, she's pretty.
Like
I mean,
Krumholtz is like defending her, or not defending. He's like, dude, she's stuck up. No, she's no. And he's like, what are you talking about, man? You don't know her. You don't know her. I bet she's great. He's like, whoa, whoa, so pump the brakes. You've
he's
never talked.
he's he, he's clearly a child. I mean, especially and then with the way the temper tantrum he throws later, the whining, he's a child.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much, pretty much. Flyers going out about a party in school would lead to the party getting shut down pretty quickly. Even though I do love that shot of like
Yeah,
the
it's a cool
slow
shot.
mo of the flyers falling,
Yeah,
cops would find out pretty quickly about this and shut that shit down pretty fast.
probably. Yeah, that's a bogey. Bogey low. It's funny that just like they're all you going to Bogey's party later, and like Bogey has no idea, but it's
Yeah,
Bogey's
he's
party.
just sitting there with his friends, and all of a sudden this like crowd of drunken teenagers who have pre-gamed come in and are like taking over his house.
That's a perfect hit. Like Bogey is not overused.
No.
Because he that shtick would get pretty old, I think, if he was in it too much. But he's just in it, like just a
Mhm.
little bit, as a small bit, and he comes, he does his job, and that's it.
Take the fat outside. Thank you. Yeah, it's we kind of how does Mrs. Perkins still have a job?
That's probably
Negligence
my pick.
in the
That's probably my
90s?
pick. Yeah, just people being yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be well. I think for me, it's probably the cops not showing up at the party.
Yeah,
I think that
yeah,
would be
that's a
my
good
pick.
guess. That's a good pick. It that probably wouldn't actually happen. You're right.
MVP of the movie. Who you got?
Gosh, I mean, I'm probably gonna go back to back with Heath Ledger. I mean, I just think he steals the show. He's got some of the most memorable scenes and lines. Again, I spoke on his performance. He's what I think of the most. But I mean, his, I mean, the cast in general is just insane.
Yeah, cast is great. I can't fault you there, but I think I'm going to go with the screenwriters, Karen McCullough and Kristen Smith. I think again we talked about it. The reason this movie has endured and has had the legacy that it has had is because of the clever writing involved. And the fact that, once again, this movie knows when to be funny, when to let the audience in on the joke, but also when to be serious and when to hit you in the heart. It's that good balance of tone that has really made this movie so rewatchable over the years, but also made it age the best, especially out of those Shakespeare adaptations, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the end of the day, Walker, why would you recommend this movie?
Everything we've said, it's a clever screenplay. It's funny. It's funny in a smart way. It's in on its own joke. The cast is a blast just if you knew they were in it. Like, so you don't even
Mhm.
have to know that they have a good performance. They just the fact that you know who's in the movie makes you want to see this movie. And then once you see it, they all really show up and do their job, and they have great chemistry, and they are given great material. It's just kind of a perfect storm of what you need. It's fairly endless in terms of its or kind of timeless, I guess. I think it's a modern day classic. I think also with a killer soundtrack that will have songs stuck in your head and you'll be listening to the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, I think this movie is like a good time capsule looking at the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yep.
It's certainly a vibe in terms of that. But again, I think the movie is so funny, it's so charming. It's a breezy hour and like 40 minutes, hour and 39 minutes, something like that. It's pretty
Yeah.
easy, fast watch, in and out pretty quick, and it engages you throughout its runtime. It's very well paced. Its tone is really well. The performances are great. It's got some really memorable lines. It's funny, um, and romantic too.
Ooh, fight! I remember that being a thing. Ooh, fight!
Underrated line from the movie. I want you. I need you. Oh baby. Oh
Yeah, man.
baby.
For some reason I think I say that regularly in like my head, and maybe I don't. Every now and then I'll hear a line in a song or a movie, and it's some bullshit I just say all the time, and I don't even know where I got it from. It's been
Mhm.
in my head for 20 years, and that might be one of them. You know what I mean? Does that ever happen to you where you hear something, you're like, is
Dude,
that why I say that?
I do it daily. Daily.
I was
And this
watching Rick. Good.
this is one of those lines that Carly quotes to me all the time. I'll just mess with her and I'll do
Mhm.
something that's silly like that and she'll say that. Like, I want
That's
you, I
funny.
need you. Oh baby, oh baby. It's really funny.
I was watching Ray a couple months ago, and I just heard Jamie Foxx, and when he was like, "I'm gonna make you do what it do, baby," and I was like, "Dude, is that where that's from?" I say that constantly. I don't even know where I heard that. Maybe it's the beginning of a song or something, but I'm like, "I'm gonna make you do what you do, baby," and it's like I don't even know where that came from, and it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That
off
kind of
topic.
stuff no, it with the topic. Like this movie, and that just goes to show you the power of movies in general, is great ones can dig their claws into you to the point to where they become a part of you, to where you don't even know that that's what that comes from, and then you rewatch the movie later and you're like, oh my god, that is what that comes from. That is the impact this movie has had on me over the years. Just goes to show you the power of movies, man. And this one, it has a pretty effective power.
That it does. That it does. Um, well, you got anything else, Dad?
No, man, that's it.
We're
I think
we'll be off
we are
next
all
week.
done. with the 10 things.
We're gonna be off next week, right?
Yep, off next week.
Because I'm going to be in New York. Thank you for your patience on that. But then we'll be back early April for a back with our regular scheduled programming. But I think that does it for this week. Thank you all again so much for listening. If you're hearing this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thanks for watching. If you're catching us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe for more movie talk each week. Let us know in the comments down below. What did you think of 10 Things I Hate About You? When's the last time you saw it? Did you like it when it came out? Do you still like it? Does it hold up? But that said, this has been Ben and Walker, and we'll see you next time.